How you doing?
Doing really well, thank you.
Good, doing really well. How about yourselves?
Out here thriving on a Monday, baby.
Nice. So you guys are the co-founders of EasyA, which is an app focused on onboarding developers into crypto and ultimately like matching them with leading into ecosystems. So curious to start with the initial insight that led you to starting EasyA back in 2020.
Really good question. I mean, we actually first got our start way back. So I got my start in the ecosystem in 2013 through Bitcoin mining. So it was really just crypto then. You mentioned crypto. It wasn't even Web3. Web3 came a couple of years later when Gavin Wood, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, put out his post about, oh, well, what if we actually had this idea of Web3, bringing the principles of democracy into the world as it had come to be built back then. So really, it was the culmination of a lot of these ideas. There's so much tech out there in a nutshell, so much stuff going on in blockchain, but most people have no idea how to actually use it. Most people actually don't know how it works. And also, there's just not enough smart people building cool stuff in the space. So we founded EasyA to bring 1 billion people into Web3. We're already 1 million of the way through, and the people who we brought in have built startups now valued at over $4 billion. So very, very much still at the start. Have had a lot of success, but yeah, it was really that insight being there's just so much cool stuff to be built. Why is nobody building this? And that's what we set out to really help accelerate.
Awesome. Well, we should probably start off by having you walk us through how the app actually works. Level set us here.
Yeah, 100%. So the app is basically, I mean, there's two ways of describing it. There's one which is the way that we describe it, which is with the onboarding layer for blockchain. So you've heard of big players like Ripple, like Stellar. We get developers building on them and launching startups that actually use them to drive real value and utility to those networks. So if you go into the app, it's kind of like Duolingo, and that's the way that we describe it. Some users also describe it as being sort of like Tinder, but for blockchain. So you go in and you swipe left, swipe right, you choose which one you want, and you tap in and you're like actually learning about the stories. So for example, for Ripple, we talk about how it actually started off as being a better alternative to Bitcoin. For Stellar as well, it actually, a lot of people don't know, but it had the backing of Stripe. So the Colson brothers also got some incredible people in their advisory board, like Sam Altman, Naval Ravikant, Keith Rabois as well. So a lot of really, really smart people behind these networks. And we really like walk people through the story, through why they were set up, and then take people all the way down there, all within the mobile app.
I mean, what does the user journey look like from maybe hearing about EasyA for the first time, doing a few like 10-minute daily quests or something, to ultimately building something on one of these chains and getting a bunch of venture funding? Like, do you kind of facilitate that entire journey?
Yeah, exactly. So essentially, anyone can start learning on EasyA through the EasyA app. Just download it on iOS and Android. Literally go on the App Store. It's free for anyone to download. We never charge the consumers for anything that we do. And then essentially, once you download the app, you can swipe, like Phil said, across the different blockchains, find the perfect match for you, and actually start learning about them. So right now, some of the big partners we have in the app are Ripple, Algorand, Sui, Apto, Stellar, many others. And essentially, once you've learned about it, you get a badge. And then we also invite people to in-person events that we host, demo days, hackathons, where they can actually show off what they've launched and what they're building. So that's really sort of like the launch pad for all of these amazing projects that people then go on to build well on beyond the hackathon. We have a big one actually coming up this weekend in Boston at Harvard. But essentially, that's typically how it works. And then, ultimately, the goal is to help those projects actually build long term and make sure that they continue driving value to the underlying ecosystem. So, yeah, that's sort of like the full funnel, so to speak.
So I'm curious about the business model here. I'm assuming partnerships are a big part of it, but are there any other innovations there that you guys are building towards?
Yeah, exactly. Partnerships obviously a big one, but then also taking stakes in the companies that launch at the demo days and at the hackathons. So seizing the upside in those. Obviously, the hackathons were a great place for people to launch at sort of day zero, so to speak. Sort of go from an idea to maybe getting their first users during that particular hackathon demo day weekend. But then also, for us, it's a great opportunity to see these really talented people literally at the ground floor and then take a stake in their projects longer term too. So sort of like a VC model, but very, very early stage, and actually, working with those projects to make sure that they become big successes in the crypto space.
So do you guys have a fund that you invest out of in the best teams coming out of the hackathons, or how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So we typically invest off our own balance sheet. So we actually, just do it ourselves. Phil and I also angel invest in projects too. So we make sure that we also have our eyes on all the hot projects and make sure that they are set up well for success. Invested in many cool ones. Really cool one actually we recently invested in is a wallet. RMD wallet. They started building on Stellar initially, and now they've sort of expanded onto different ecosystems as well. They make it really easy for people to buy and trade tokens. And they're actually now raising a good round together with other VCs and many other projects that are coming out of the ecosystem. So yeah, really exciting.
All right, so I think you said you have 1 million app downloads. Very curious about how that came to be. What's the growth strategy that has worked here for you?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's been quite the journey. I'd say, really when we really took off, we hit sort of this hockey stick growth was around like, at the turn of this current bull market. So what we'd done was we laid some really strong foundations, made sure that we had a product that was retentive, that people actually really loved. We went through a lot of different app iterations. I'm sure somebody, if they dig deep enough, they can find, what that looks like across each different phase of the journey. But the current one where you sort of swipe and it has just this very slick user experience is what really people just started to really love. And then the baseline was there. And so basically by the time the current bull market came around again, new people were coming in, people were coming back, people were coming in from different spaces, people coming in from finance, like, oh, crypto's back. How do I learn about it? They ask around, they have a look, and lo and behold, EasyA is there. And that is when we basically just saw literally this hockey stick and just up and to the right from there. So we're growing super fast, but really it was because we laid those foundations down early on. And also, have built up this amazing community. So we've had the most incredible startups come out of the EasyA and our hackathons. We've had our first unicorn as well. And so there's just a lot of success that's come out, and that's become like this self-reinforcing cycle where we've just built up so much over the past few years and have built an app that people just love. Have a couple of cool little growth flywheels in there as well. Like we have a very close integration with the EasyA app to posting on Twitter as well. You connect up your GitHub, your LinkedIn as well. We give people certificates. So all these different things, over the past couple of years that we've worked on to make it, just have this built-in viral loop.
Yeah, we work with the foundations as well sometimes to host limited time token giveaways as well for the people who complete the challenges the first. They get select portion of that particular token. So yeah, a lot of cool things that we do to also make sure people are bought into the ecosystems they learn about as well.
Yeah, so your North Star is to bring 1 billion people into Web3. And in my mind, that's not going to happen from, more hackathon hoppers. I think there's, a pretty big ecosystem of people who are just kind of professional, hackathon builders almost, and are good at winning and, are happy to just take those prizes and move on to the next thing. But really from like, more serious founders getting excited about what's possible here. So I'm curious if that's a distinction you guys care about. How do you build for kind of each use case? Is it just about a massive top of funnel and, you hope a few, really successful founders kind of fall through? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, our big goal is really to scan for those founders that attend our events. So our events typically 200-300 people in one place, all IRL, actually building things for that whole weekend. So they show up on a Saturday. Typically, they start building, ideating, forming their teams, and then by Sunday afternoon, they're pitching at demo day and actually pitching what they've built. And for us, like Phil said, we scan their LinkedIn's, GitHubs, etc. We want to make sure that they have a track record of actually building something in the past that has, achieved a certain KPI or a certain goal. It's not just a bunch of different hackathon repos that they've been submitting, like you often see, with like online hackathons. And so a big component as well is the in-person element. If you're showing up in person, you're much more likely to actually continue building because there's just that, mental hurdle, I guess, of actually making it down to the place physically. And then actually, seeing those projects through. So making it very, well known to the founders who attend these hackathons that they should actually build long term. They can actually follow in the footsteps of other EasyA alumni who've actually gone on to build some really cool projects. And I believe you had Ash from Axel on recently. He's an EasyA Gigabrain, launched Axel at an EasyA hackathon a couple of years back, and went on to raise from A16Z and a bunch of other really great VCs, and now is based in New York building out his team. So that's just one example of the really cool projects that are coming out and actually changing the game. They recently partnered with MoonPay as well, so that was really cool to see. And yeah, that's really our focus. It's not just hosting hackathons and ultimately seeing those people, like you said, go from hackathon to hackathon and hoover up bounties. It's actually about making sure they contribute long term to the ecosystem and actually grow the space altogether.
And to your point, Josh, as well, I think the reason that we went for hackathons and developers, focusing on developers first to hit that billion goal, is because each developer in Web3 is so uniquely levered, highly levered. Like each developer accounts for tens of millions of dollars in value. So if we started with developers, we knew that we could bring in so much more than going for just the users first. And that's why we've very, very intentionally gone for this developer first approach. And now we're also getting a lot of users who just want to explore the ecosystem. But very early on, we knew that we had to get those developers because they are the people who are most highly levered in this ecosystem.
All right, so you sit at a table that gets to see a lot of things really early, and it sounds like you're playing in a bunch of ecosystems that maybe crypto Twitter's not super plugged into. So I'm curious, when you see net new users coming in or developers coming into your app, what are the types of things that they're most excited about today?
That's a really good question. Today, we are seeing two major things. Number one, very excited about stablecoins. We have a huge number of people who are coming from TradFi. So Dom used to work at Goldman, at Blackstone. A lot of his colleagues, have followed his journey, and they're following now what's going on in the space. They're like, wow, okay, this is different. It seems like crypto has changed. It's not just all of this weird stuff that's going on with ICOs that nobody really understands. It's something that they can actually wrap their heads around. And then, number two as well, the second thing that they're excited about is just building applications on top of those. So they're seeing the stuff that's going with Circle. A lot of people actually came into the EasyA app and into the EasyA community after the Circle IPO as well, because people are like, oh, wow, crypto, interesting, something that I can understand. There's a real use case there. How do I build on top of this as well? So, we go through different cycles. We go through cycles where a lot of people coming into the ecosystem are there for the trading. They're here for speculation. They're here to, because they want to make money, right? We're seeing right now a lot of that more mature audience starting to come in. I think we're at that point in the cycle right now where actually the legitimacy of crypto has come back a lot compared to where it was maybe a couple of years ago after we had Terra, after FTX. Legitimacy is back. And we're having really, really legit people who are thinking about how do I actually build a proper business in this space. And they're looking at stablecoins, looking at applications that they can build in finance. So I would say really, really we're focused around the financial sort of vision of Web3 that actually really sort of started out with. We're coming in some ways to a return to the white paper that Satoshi put out all those years ago, where it's like peer-to-peer electronic cash without the middleman.
So what does the next year look like for you guys? Do you feel like the kind of right foundations are in place and it's more about just doing more of what you've been doing but better, or are you looking at kind of expanding your capabilities?
A bit of both, actually. So we are growing really, really fast on the app side. We have a lot of new users who are coming in every single day, but we're also actually going to be launching our own product in the space. And so that's going to be what we are focusing. I mean, some people on Twitter might have seen that we recently launched the EasyA Labs. And so that is what we have been actually really, really focused on ourselves. We're building an elite team of people who really we've seen are extremely smart in the space. We had a lot of EasyA Gigabrains who actually wanted to join EasyA Labs when we announced it. So yeah, can't share so much about it right now. We'll probably have to come on again when we can. But it's going to be very exciting. We're going to build our own product, which is going to be actually something that end users can use as opposed to just educating themselves on what's out there in terms of technology.
A token launchpad.
Well, not a token launchpad, but yeah. We'll be able to share more soon.
Awesome, guys. Well, let's leave it there. I think as Josh and I were talking beforehand, it's always wonderful to see things come across our radar that just haven't been on our radar and are absolutely crushing it. So yeah, continue to do your thing. We're excited to follow along, and maybe we'll have you back on in a year and see where you're at.
Yeah,
definitely.
Thanks very much,
Thanks, guys. Great to be on here with you all.
Great to meet you guys. Take care.
Thanks. See you
See
soon.
you. Bye.